Hey Lakers fan. Jeez. Hey Lakers fans, this is Jonathan Hernandez of the Lakers Legacy Podcast, and ball up. We've got actual Lakers basketball to analyze. So the Lakers played their first preseason game of the new 2024-25 NBA season last night, and today I'm going to do a quick recap of some of my most intriguing findings from last night's game. I'll first start out by handing out some typical awards like MVP of the game, Sixth Man of the Game, Defensive Player of the Game, etc., etc. Then we'll get into my 3 in the Key segment where I'll outline my top 3 key takeaways from the game, and then after that we'll conclude with any final thoughts or early hot takes that I have. So with that said, let's get into my awards of the night first. MVP. So my MVP for the first preseason game will go to Mr. maxchristie. Max Christie started at small forward last night in LeBron James and Anthony Davis's absence, and he came out guns blazing. He hit the Lakers' first 3, but more than that, he was aggressive and confident on the ball, taking it to the basket for lefty drives, taking it to the basket for floaters, cutting to the basket for that sick two-handed poster jam. And then defensively, he was just teleporting on the court everywhere. And I think last night, we finally got to see Max Christie unleashed. And he was able to let loose his repressed feelings from last season of being held back and not getting the consistent opportunity and role that he probably deserved. So yeah, Max seems ready for this upcoming season. He seems like he's chomping at the bit. And that $8 million per year contract that he just signed is going to continue to look like such a huge bargain. So my MVP for last night was Max Christie, who had 11.7 rebounds, 2 blocks, and yeah, was just dynamic on the court. All right, moving on to my 6th man of the game. That will go to Mr. Dalton Knecht, the Lakers' #1 rookie of this past draft. I call him Mr. Human Torch, Mr. Point Per Minute Man. At one point in the game, he had 11 points in his first 11 minutes without barely even dribbling the ball, the Klay Thompson special. And yeah, Dalton Knecht being such an athletic guard who can finish at the rim, plus being such a smooth and deadly shooter, is such a lethal combo. And then you add to that his great off-ball moving and cutting instincts, and yeah, what you ended up getting was just an absolute bucket. And so Dalton Knecht gets my 6th Man of the Game award. And yeah, look out for him this year because the fact that he can play on the court with such little usage and put up points in bunches just by being smart with his off-ball cuts and by being able to finish well at the rim because he's athletic and strong, that is a perfect complement to LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So yeah, Dalton Knecht is my 6th man of the game. He had 16 points on 7 of 13 shooting. He didn't even shoot well from 3. He only shot 2 of 7. But yeah, Dalton Knecht is going to have a big role in the Lakers' chances at success this season. Moving on to my most improved player of the game. This may come as somewhat of a surprise to some people, but I'm going to give it to JHS, Mr. Jalenhoodschifino. Fear is not an option. JHS looked vastly more confident and comfortable overall last night than he did all of last season. His mid-range pull-up was on point. He did a great job as a connective passer, 6 assists and 0 turnovers. And most of all, he was just very active defensively, and I really appreciated his hustle and his tenacity in contesting shots and going for loose balls and rebounds. He had the perfect Bruce Brown line last night with 6 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. I think he had 1 steal and 1 block as well. But yeah, JHS was, vastly improved from anything that we saw from him last season in the NBA. So JHS, most improved player of the game. Moving on to defensive player of the night, this is going to go to Max Christie as well because he was absolutely everywhere. He was blocking shots, he was spinning off of screens to stick with guys, moving his feet on the perimeter, grabbing boards and hustling for loose balls. I really felt like Max Christie was sort of the injection of energy and activity that starting lineup needed, and I felt that his defensive effort was infectious to the rest of the team. It trickled down to the rest of the team. So Max Christie very easily was the defensive player of the game. And lastly, let's talk about my play of the night. I'm going to go with the dribble handoff out of timeout play for daltonknecht in the fourth quarter when the Lakers ran a bunch of screens. Kyler Kelly got the ball, did a DH show to daltonknecht, who curled off of that screen and drained the baseline three. The player movement, the ball movement, and the screen setting during this play was just so beautiful to watch. I could cry. And the most impressive part about all this is that it was being run by mainly G League players. And they still ran things to perfection with real intentionality and a clear understanding of their placement on the court. And then, of course, daltonknecht topped it all off by drilling that three off of the curl on the baseline. So chef's kiss. All right, so those are my awards of the game, awards for the game. Now let's get into my 3 key takeaways from the game. And while we transition over to that segment, please do me a favor and comment down below, like this video, and most importantly, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps support the work that I do in trying to provide you guys with consistent quality Lakers content. All right, 3 in the key. Here are my 3 key takeaways from last night's game. My first key takeaway: the play calling, the sets. This was game 1 of the preseason, and the Lakers probably ran more organized sets in this one game alone than they did the first 10 regular season games of last year. The off-ball movement with guys curling all around the court every which way, the multiple down screens, the multiple flare-out screens, the players making the right dives and cuts, and guys slinging the ball to the right places. It was just so beautiful to see so early on in this season. It wasn't all perfect and the guys were missing a lot of shots, but the rough outline, execution, and intention were all there. The timing and the shot making will eventually come, but the fact that JJ Redick and the Lakers were able to install so many of these concepts and ATOs after less than a week of training camp is a very encouraging sight. And this is without LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So my number 1 key takeaway from last night's game was just the sets, and the play calling. What a beautiful sight. Now moving on to my second key takeaway from last night's game: defensive effort and hustle. So obviously without Anthony Davis and LeBron James, the Lakers were forced to play small with this group. But for the first time, I actually felt like the Lakers playing small wasn't this crazy huge detriment. Mainly because everyone on the court was extremely active, everyone was moving their feet, getting back into transition, contesting shots, hustling for loose balls. Our small guys were very scrappy, much in the same way that the New York Knicks rebounding, burly guards are very scrappy. And they did this all without their main protector in Anthony Davis, and without some of their best rebounders and forward defenders in Vanderbilt, LeBron James, Christian Wood, and even Cam Reddish. And the Lakers' defensive activity was even reflected in their stocks count. The team had 9 steals and 12 blocks as a whole. They had 12 blocks without Anthony Davis. And even the starters themselves, with D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves, compiled 5 steals and 5 blocks. And every starter recorded some sort of defensive stat, whether it was a steal or a block. So everyone was doing their part in buying into the defensive hustle and scheme that JJ Redick has instilled very early on. So yeah, I just wanted to credit JJ Redick for getting this very small, undersized roster and group to buy in and really just go after it on the defensive end. Very encouraging signs early on for how the rest of the season will go. I hope they can keep it up. Okay, moving on to my last key takeaway of the game, my third key, and I want to talk about the youths. Max Christie, daltonknecht, jalenhoodschifino, and Bronny James all had their flashes of brilliance in this game, whether it was offensively or defensively or both, and they all looked like they belonged on an NBA court. Obviously, they're going to need some fine-tuning, they're going to need more development, but I would say overall, the Lakers have been emphasizing their youth development program all offseason, and a lot of us who want the Lakers to just focus on win now, we need to win a championship, have sort of batted our eye at that. But the fact that we have seen tangible strides from the young guys this early on is very encouraging. And it lends to, I think, the offseason work that JJ Redick has already put in with some of these guys in the facility, even the Exhibit 10 guys like Kyler Kelly and Quincy Oliveri. But yeah, it kind of looks like the young guys, Bronny James, jalenhoodschifino, Max Christie, daltonknecht. It feels like they had a preseason before preseason. Last night's game showed that they're already in shape. They're already hitting their stride. And so this portends to great things potentially for the Lakers' youth development system moving forward. And so, yeah, very encouraging signs early on for the young guys. And yeah, the Lakers may actually have a pretty decent young core. All right, so that does it for my 3 key takeaways from last night's game. As it pertains to any final thoughts or conclusions or any early hot takes I have on this early part of the Lakers season, my early hot take is that maybe Max Christie just needs to start at the 3 over Rui Hachimura permanently till Vanderbilt's healthy. Max Christie starting has always been viewed under the lens of swapping him out for D'Angelo Russell or Austin Reeves in the starting lineup. But after what I've seen from last night's preseason game and after what I've seen with how in sync he is with both D'Lo and AR, maybe the Lakers and JJ Redick eventually need to consider just starting Max Christie over Rui Hachimura, because I really like his mobility, his activity, the way he cuts off ball, and obviously his three-point shooting in that Lakers starting lineup. And if Max Christie can become a consistent 38 to 40% three-point shooter, then he's almost the perfect small forward to slot in with to slot in with D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves. And we saw that very beautiful play early on in the first quarter where D'Angelo Russell whipped it to a cutting Austin Reeves, who then instinctively threw the pass over to Max Christie at the baseline for that baseline 3. And so we also saw D'Angelo Russell do his over-the-head pass to a cutting Max Christie for that two-handed jam. And so I think there's already a natural in-syncness amongst those 3 guards. And while Max Christie isn't the 6'7", 6'8" type of guy that you'd want at that small forward spot, because he competes and because he's so athletic and dynamic on the court and he really fights for rebounds, he had 7 boards last night, I think that will mitigate the size concern of him starting at the 3. So that is my early hot take of the season. Maybe JJ Redick should consider starting Max Christie at the small forward spot permanently, because D'Lo, AR, and Max Christie, that could be a potentially potent trio, because Max Christie covers up the deficiencies that Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell have, and D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves cover up Max Christie's potential on-ball deficiencies, even though he's shown some strides in that area as well. But yeah, those are my final thoughts. Those are my 3 key takeaways of the game. Let me know if you guys like these post-game recaps, and maybe I'll continue doing more of them as the season progresses. But yeah, with that said, please remember to like this video, comment down below, and most importantly, please subscribe. It's looking like it's going to be a fun Lakers season, so buckle up, everybody. All aboard the JJ Redick train or JJ Redick jet plane, whatever vehicle you want to use. Again, this has been Jonathan Hernandez of the Lakers Legacy Podcast, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.